Okay, welcome everyone to another Talks with Coach. I hope you all had a good weekend. Thanks for coming through. I'm really looking forward to this topic. When Coach shared what he wanted to talk about and with his experience from other metaverses, I think it's really going to be educational for everyone. And then we will chat a little bit afterwards, and then there will also be the Meta Garden Gallery exhibition. So thank you, and I'm going to hand over to Coach.
Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to everybody that's here. And I just want to thank you all for coming out this morning or this afternoon or this evening for this talk. And this talk has resonated with me for some time, and I think it's very relevant because it's something that is being experienced not just in the metaverse, but we know that it's existed for ages in the real world. But it seems to manifest itself sometimes even in a more concentrated way here in the metaverse. So I want to talk about that from a couple of angles. And if you notice on the post, the talk was about who, how, and why of cyberbullying. So I just want to kind of break it down. And I think all of us to some degree or another have experienced some type of bullying, cyberbullying, either as a victim or observer, or hopefully not as a bully yourself. So, but I just want to touch on that because sometimes we find that we are actually bullying and may not even realize it just by the nature of the conversations we have. So I just want to spend a little time kind of dissecting that, kind of working through what it is, how it happens, and I want to attach it to another very, very in topic toward the end, especially something that's being celebrated or discussed or acknowledged this month. So if I look at it from the standpoint of who is involved in the cyberbullying, I look at three categories of people. And the most obvious one in the circle would be the victim, the person who's being bullied. The next most obvious would be the person that's doing the bullying. But then there's this other category of the observer. And I want to start with the observer at first before I talk about the other two, because the other two are already pretty much understood. But I want to talk about the observer in the bullying process. The observers actually fall into more than one category. There's the casual observer who happens to be there to see this going on and out of curiosity. Then there's the observer that's there, kind of maybe even supporting the bully. And then there's those that may be even sympathetic toward the person that's being bullied. So when we look at those categories of people, sometimes we may find ourselves, if we are experiencing or participating or observing a cyberbully situation or a bully situation, whatever, we may find ourselves in one of those categories. And if you are the casual observer, you have to ask yourself, why am I sitting here? Why am I watching this? What is the purpose of this? If you are supporting the bully, you have to ask yourself, why am I on the side of the bully in this cyber situation? And if you're on the side of the person that's being bullied, you have to ask yourself why. So I say that to say, no matter what category you find yourself in, there is a cognitive and an emotional impact to you in the bullying situation. And I said I want to attach it to something. I'm going to throw a word out here and I'll tag it later on. But that word is mental health. And believe it or not, in the situation, the cyberbullying, regular bullying, there are some mental health connections, and I'll tie it in toward the end. But let's talk again about the observers and what's happening there. When you think about a person that's observing a bully situation or a cyber situation, and they ask themselves, why am I here? What am I getting out of this? So they have to ask themselves, am I looking at this from the standpoint that I'm glad that it's not me being cyberbullied? Do I have some kind of feelings or affinity toward any person involved in this? So regardless of what your thoughts are as an observer, you are being impacted emotionally and physically and cognitively. You're being impacted because you're making some decisions. You're coming to a place of feeling something about the situation. So nobody attached to a bully situation goes away unscathed. Everybody's impacted in some way or another. So if you're an observer, you're being impacted. If you're on the side of the bully, you have to ask yourself, what is it about this person that makes me feel comfortable associated in this situation as they bully someone else? You have to ask yourself, where are you at emotionally? Where are you at cognitively? Where are you at in this situation? If you are on the side of the person that's being bullied, you have to ask yourself, why am I providing support? Am I trying to mitigate this situation? Uh, why do I feel a certain way toward the person that's being bullied? So as you think about that, every single person is being impacted on a certain level. So nobody walks away from a bully situation untouched. So let's talk about the bully. Why does a person feel a need to bully someone? And I think if we look at research and we look at our own experiences, almost a common theme among bullies is they're either being bullied themselves or there's a high level sense of inadequacy that causes them to want to find somebody to put beneath them and put underneath them to bring them down, to cause them harm. And I say that being a bully is also, and I'm going to throw this word out here, and I'm not throwing it out here lightly, it's a mental health issue. Because anytime that you get to a place to where you feel that you need to bring harm or bring discomfort or bring embarrassment to someone, that is not positive thinking. That is not positive, not a positive mindset. It's not a winning mindset. It's actually a losing mindset. And so, and I say it's a mental health issue because you're not really thinking in such a way to bring good. So I'm going to throw that out there, and I'll, like I said, toward the end, I'll kind of wrap it up and tag that up. Now, the person that's being bullied is also being put into a mental health crisis situation because either they have to defend themselves or they have to try and manage their emotions. They have to deal with the trauma. They have to deal with whatever is taking place as a result of being bullied. Do they walk away in fear? Do they walk away in embarrassment? Do they walk away in shame? Is there hurt? But they're being hurt, they're being damaged, they're being injured in this process. And so it's causing them mental and emotional distress. So I say that to say that there's nothing positive that comes out of a cyberbully situation. So looking at the categories of the who, the bully, the observer, and the person that's being bullied. So let's move on to how it takes place. Sometimes it's very, very subtle. And I think the subtle bullying is probably the most common when you think about people who consider themselves to be sophisticated, educated, or consider themselves to be somewhat decent people. The subtle bullying can be in the form of a question that causes them to question their character, question their own integrity. You know, it could be something as simple as asking somebody, was that the best way of thinking about that? Now, it could sound constructive when you ask a person that way, but if you ask that person in front of other people, if you ask that person in a way that puts them in a discomfort. So, for example, if I walked over to one woman and I said, one woman would, could you have come up with something better than what you just came up with? And I say that in front of an audience, how would you feel, one woman, if I said that to you like that?
I would be embarrassed. To say the
Okay.
least.
So
I
the
might
embarrassment,
be angry.
what's that?
I said I might even feel angry.
Ah, so angry, embarrassed. So now I've put her at a place of discomfort by simply asking a question. So someone might say, is that bullying or is that just asking a question? And I'll leave that question for debate. But my opinion, I say that that's bullying, especially if you ask it in a public setting where other people are listening because you put that person on the spot. Having worked many years in the corporate world, I've seen managers who were actually poor managers that in the attempt to try and motivate someone would embarrass them by asking a question like that, putting that person on the spot, and embarrassing them and thinking that they're doing something good. So the subtle bullying can sometimes come from a place where you think you're doing good, but you're actually doing harm. So I call that subtle. But sometimes there's intentional subtle bullying where we ask somebody a question. If I go over to Lisbeth and say, Lisbeth, did you hear about Linda? And if Elizabeth's response is, no, I didn't hear anything about her. What about her? And I'll say, don't worry about it. It's nothing. It's nothing big. What have I just done by asking that question? I've asked a question. Now I place a question to cause somebody to question something about somebody else. So now there's a thought process in motion. That in itself causes someone to feel less comfortable, less confident, sometimes more inquisitive. But because of human nature, whenever those questions are asked, we tend to go to the negative side of a situation. We tend to think, Linda could have just won the Canadian lottery and is now a super billionaire, but by asking that question, it almost sounds like a negative. If you follow what I'm saying, throw me a heart or something. If you agree with what I'm saying, if you see the point that I'm making. Thank you. So here's another way of subtle bullying. Subtle bullying can sometimes come in the way of ignoring someone, especially if you are a person that other people look up to. If you're in a position of respect, a position of authority, a position of influence, you can bully people by ignoring them. And I'm not talking about ignoring somebody who deserves to be ignored, because there are some people that, because of the toxic nature, because of the way they operate, yes, there are some people who need to be ignored. But sometimes, just for the sake of exerting my power and exerting my influence, I can ignore certain people because I know it makes them feel uncomfortable. I know it makes them feel uncomfortable in a group. So that's the subtle type of bullying. Then there's the outright bullying, just the direct confrontational, the the rumors, putting things out, saying things about people, um, verbally attacking someone through emails and through texts, through visiting worlds and making comments. There's just a plethora of ways that people can attack people directly in a cyberbullying situation. And here's something that I've noticed, and I've come across this, and I've experienced it myself in the metaverse. It's stalkers. Has anybody experienced that? A stalking in the cyber world? Besides me, anybody else experience something like that? It's crazy that takes place, that people actually stalk someone in there. I was in a world a couple of days ago, and there was a person that was walking around, just coming up to people and taking their picture in the metaverse. They would walk up to that person, take a picture. They would go to another person and take a picture. And when people would ask them, so why are you taking my picture? The person wouldn't respond. They just continued to take pictures of people. And so what was suspected, that this person was trying to take pictures of people so they could make a negative post about them. That in itself, stalking, cyberbullying, and some of those pictures have probably appeared in different worlds or different aspects or different tweets and different things on IG, just because somebody wants to bully someone and make a point. The thing that happens in the cyber world is people trying to stalk and find out information to make negative posts or to dig into somebody's personal life. Those are very, very toxic behaviors. Those behaviors are so undermining the high level potential of a place like this. You have a lot of people with a lot of intellectual and physical and artistic and verbal gifts that come into a world like this to give, and they come in and they get cyberbullied, they get discouraged, and they leave. So, which diminishes the good impact that that person could bring to a world like this because they've been cyberbullied. So, those kind of things take away from the high quality nature and the positivity that could take place in an environment like this. So, that outright direct bullying is one of the most toxic things that takes place. All of them are toxic, but the outright direct confrontational is the one that seems to be the most obvious. Now, all of them do damage. All of them are harmful. And I say again that they all create or come out of a mental health situation. Because if I'm healthy and doing my part to have a healthy mental state, I don't have time to be negative or trying to put somebody else down. I don't have time to be attacking anybody on any level because I'm using my good mental health to stay healthy, to stay positive, but also to help others feel good about themselves and to have good mental health. I want to contribute to the good mental health of everybody involved. So we looked at the who, the how, but I want to think about the why. And I just want to delve into that a little bit of why. If I'm not happy with myself and I'm not emotionally intelligent enough to deal with my own personal situation, if I'm not emotionally intelligent enough to seek the help that I need, if I'm not emotionally intelligent enough to say, I need help, my next recourse may be to strike out of my pain, out of my misery, out of my discontent, out of my fear, out of my own low self-esteem. I may tend to strike out as a result of that because I don't have the emotional intelligence enough to say, I'm hurting, I need help. So I'm hurting, so I need you to hurt too, so that I'm not hurting alone. And I think many of us have heard it said that hurt people hurt people. So the why could come out of low self-esteem. The why could come out of pain. The why could come out of my own discontent, my own inability to see other people happy, my own inability to just experience the fullness of the goodness around me. And so when you think about all of those aspects of bullying, cyberbullying, I tie it again to say it's also contributing to the mental health crisis that's taking place in the world. And this month, as we're celebrating men's mental health. I've talked to guys this week because I've talked about mental health in different settings. It's particularly men's mental health. And I find that many times men are in denial of their mental health situation. Too often, men are in denial of the crisis of mental health. But another thing, oftentimes men are in denial of being bullied. So I'd say bullying, cyberbullying, and physical bullying is an equal opportunity situation. But because as men, we are slow to acknowledge or slow to deal with it in a positive way. We're good at striking out. We're good at the confrontational side, but maybe not so good at really getting down to the core and the help and the understanding. And so if you think about the suicide rate among men as opposed to women, it's much higher, much higher. And I was looking at some statistics from the U.S. military that 25 veterans a day that they know about are committing suicide. And that's the ones that they know about that they can say, yes, this was a suicide. The others, they're still trying to figure out what the category is, but they can clearly say at least 25 a day. And so after doing some research leading up to those that they were able to find out and look at patterns, one of the things that people they found was that there was a low self-esteem, there was a feeling of inadequacy, but there was also this overwhelming feeling of helplessness and loneliness. And I tie that back into cyberbullying because sometimes bullies might be bullying someone who is in a mental health crisis. And the bullying becomes a straw that breaks the camel's back. Someone may appear to be odd or indifferent or going through a struggle, and we don't recognize it for what it is. We recognize it as something to be made fun of, something to be laughed at, something to be put down when that person is actually struggling under deep trauma. So I say this in all seriousness that cyberbullying is, I can't find anything good about it. I think it's one of a gruesome thing. I think it's a horrible thing to cyberbully. I think bullying in itself is a horrible thing. And I'd say that the person that's bullying has a mental health issue. The person that's being bullied gets a mental health issue. The observers end up with mental health issues because now they have to make a decision of how they feel about this situation. So it puts them into a crisis of where do I go? What do I agree? And why didn't I help? Now, there's a strange phenomenon that takes place. People will see a situation where somebody's in crisis, either being attacked or having a traumatic breakdown, and people will pull out their cell phones and start to film the crisis, the situation. They'll hold their cell phones up and get the video. As opposed to trying to help, trying to intervene, people go for likes. They get the pictures, they post it, they make comments, and they get a satisfaction out of people liking their post. And in my opinion, professionally and personally, I say that that is also part of a mental health deficiency situation. Because if I can take joy and find satisfaction in someone else's pain, that says a lot about me and my character, my integrity, and how I see life. So I have to ask myself, am I relishing and enjoying someone else's pain? And if so, why? What's so bad in my life that I enjoy somebody else's pain? What's so wrong in my world that I want to show the world somebody else's struggle, someone else's crisis? So I hope I'm resonating today about the toxicity of bullying, cyberbullying, physical bullying. And I want you to really ask yourself, where do you fit in the spectrum? And how are you doing things to turn things around and make for a positive impact? Because when you think about the power that we have in this metaverse, when you think about the influence that we have, we can do a lot for world good and world change. On my IG, every Thursday, I make a post about Do Good Thursday. And I picked Thursday because Friday is typically the last day of the work week in so many places. and people are winding down and they're looking for the weekend. And sometimes people just need something good to take place on a Thursday to get them over the hump Friday so they can take a break on the weekends. And I thought about it for a long time. And I said, hopefully, it start a revolution that we start a do good Thursday, but actually becomes a do good Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, that people begin to say, I'm going to do something good. You know, and I say things, sometimes people just need a phone call. You might see somebody in the metaverse and they may not sound like themselves, asking them sincerely, how are you doing? Now, the happiest people that I personally know have two qualities in common, and they're gratitude and generosity. And it's pretty hard to feel negative when you have gratitude and generosity. Because if I'm grateful, then I'm appreciative to what's going on around me. I'm appreciative to myself. I'm appreciative to others. And I'm grateful for this opportunity, grateful for this place, this space. I'm just grateful. But my generosity allows me to give, to reach out, to touch someone, to make somebody else's life better. And in the process of giving, I'm actually generating some goodwill within myself because I'm giving from a good place. So I think if you are grateful and generous, it's pretty difficult to bully. You just don't have space for it. And you really actually no longer have the mindset to bully when you're practicing gratitude and generosity. And like I said, the happiest people that I know have those things in common. But I also noticed that those people who are grateful and generous seem to have pretty high level of good mental health. There seems to be a higher level of satisfaction in their lives, a higher level of appreciation in their lives because of those two qualities. And so I think about that, trying to put a positive message out into this place as often as possible. Maybe one person hears it, and that one person's life is changed or made better for that moment, which puts them in a position to maybe touch someone else in a positive way. And it's kind of like a spark getting the fire going. So I want to encourage you all, think about generosity, think about gratitude. And I think when we practice those kind of things, there is not a lot of space for bullying. There's not a lot of space for hostility and negativity because you can't mix the two. You either got to have one or the other. So when you have gratitude and generosity, it's kind of hard to be angry. It's kind of hard to want to put somebody down. It's kind of hard to want to bully. And it also has a dramatic effect on our mental health. So to sum it up, cyber bullies, the victims, the observers, all find themselves in a negative mental health situation when you participate in cyberbullying. So I hope that you received what I said today. I hope it made sense, and I hope you use what I've said to change your world and somebody else's world around you. So I'm going to take a minute. If anybody has any questions or comments, floor is open. If not, I'll turn it back over to Elizabeth. Okay, Elizabeth, I guess there's no questions.
I just want to quickly check the chat because there were some people writing comments in Japanese. One lady said that she's a psychiatric nurse currently working with teenagers and it's difficult to get involved. So I was just checking the comments quickly.
Okay, excellent, excellent. So she said it's hard to get involved in what respect did she say? Did she say it was hard to get involved with the kids or what?
I'm not entirely sure. The chat was
Okay.
moving very fast. So,
Okay.
low self-esteem. Maradori said the person said due to low self-esteem, it's difficult to get involved.
Ah, okay. Yeah, low self-esteem is one of those things that I don't know. I consider that one of those things that really rips the bottom out of you, out of your personality and everything. Because if you don't feel good about yourself, it's really hard to feel good about anything, and it's really hard to experience joy. It's really hard to appreciate, even when people are doing good for you. If your esteem is low, you're going to question their motives. You're going to question your worth. So that is, oh, that's a whole topic within itself. Low self-esteem. Okay. Any other comments in the chat?
She said, it seems I didn't have that skill.
Oh,
by
okay.
Sacrificing. It's also direct. It's Google Translate, so it's also direct translation, but I'm just going to read out. Maradori, you can correct me. By sacrificing oneself and trying to stay connected with others.
Mm. So is that due to low self-esteem? Okay. All righty. If there are
They
no,
tend to sacrifice
oh,
themselves to maintain relationships with others.
oh,
And then I'm not sure about I know the direct translation, how should you express yourself? To worry. Yeah, I think it's how should you express yourself, right, Maradori? The direct translation. How should one express oneself? Oh, how can I get involved? Like, how can one get involved?
that's. Are they looking to talk to someone here about getting involved? So, yeah, I think that that comment about sacrificing themselves to get along with others, I think I see that in a lot of situations, particularly with teens and younger people, where they will sacrifice their own integrity, their own values, their own self worth to be accepted by others, and that's how people get pulled into some of the stupid schemes and jokes and going along and doing things because in the hopes of being accepted they will lower their own standards in self-respect and expectations. And I've observed that in teens. I've observed that in adults who will go along with something that they really don't agree with, but with the hopes of being accepted. And that never works out for the good.
I'm going to read the comments to you, Coach, because you're in VR, right? So Maradori
Yes.
said it's common teens sacrifice themselves to gain the approval of others with the desire to be recognized. And then Eri-san said the incidents are continuous and the goal during their hospitalization is to stop them. Stop the incidents, I think. So the
Okay.
teenagers that are hospitalized due to low self-esteem is what I'm understanding. Am I correct in my summary of the...
Yes, correct.
Okay, thank you, Mitchell. Thank you. We've got, just to let you know, we've got English voice to text for people with hearing loss, translated into Japanese, Japanese going into the chat, translated back into English, and we're managing to sort of not play broken telephone. So well done, everyone.
So you think about this setting today. We have people from multiple countries sitting in here. We have a translation going between Japanese and English. So you think about the power of the metaverse to get our powerful messages out. I think that the more we do with this technology, the more we do with these tools, the more that we come together as a world, we could be such a powerful catalyst for change, such a powerful catalyst to show the world that there is still good, that we don't have to go down this dark path, that we can come out and be a light to the rest of the world. So I just want to thank you all for being here and supporting this talk. And I think that there's a lot more that we can do with it, a lot more that we can learn from it. So with that, I'm going to turn it back over to Elizabeth, and she has a few comments. And thank you all.
And Coach, you mentioned wanting to tie in something with Mental Health Month. Do you still want to do that?
Yes. Thank you. So thanks for
Okay.
reminding me that. This is Men's Mental Health Month, but I think that every month we should be checking our mental health. And the reason I applaud the acknowledgement of men's mental health is because, like I said, too often we suffer in silence as men. We don't have the network that women have where we can actually be honest with our friends. You know, when you do have that friend that you can say, hey, man, I'm hurting inside, or I'm struggling, and that person hears you and listens to you, and they're truly that person that's going to try and support you through whatever, that's a beautiful place to be. But too often as guys, we don't develop that kind of connectivity because we're taught to handle it on our own. We're taught to be macho. We're taught to be men. And we got to get away from that. We got to be willing to say, hey, I hurt. I need to talk with some people. I need to just, over in Horizon, for about 8 or 9 months, I did a Sunday night group. I just called it men's group. It was just guys getting together to talk about real life issues that needed to be talked about among guys. And we had sessions where guys would come in and just cry and say, hey, you know, I'm hurting. I'm failing as a dad and I don't know what to do. Or, you know, I'm struggling at work. I'm getting bullied at work and I don't know how to stand up for myself. So it was a multitude of topics that guys just didn't talk about in public, but I gave them a safe space. And I saw gradually over that time where esteem changed, mental health changed, confidence changed, and relationships changed because guys were able to say, hey, I hurt, or I'm confused, or I don't know. So in light of that mental health month, I want to encourage you guys, do a self-check. But not just as guys, all of us, we need to do a self-check because a mental health crisis could sneak up on us. We don't know what straw is going to break the camel's back. And that's why sometimes we see people go off the deep end and you go, wow, I didn't see that coming. We didn't see it coming because we didn't see that person. Because we only saw the surface.
With the chat. Oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
So I'm going to catch you up with the chat quickly. Maradori said the metaverse is amazing. People from many different countries, languages, and cultures are participating. And thanks for the translations. Overcoming barriers through technology. Creative L says, I'm currently dealing with cyberbullying. Then Robots, it's great to gather everyone's knowledge and overcome problems. I realized once again that even though cultures differ, worries are the same all over the world. Eri said, thank you for answering your questions. I'm just trying to differentiate also because there's people typing so that the people with a hearing loss can use the translation. Let me just check.
Awesome. Isn't this fantastic that we can do this?
Yeah, it's amazing. Eri said, I didn't know that not only in Japan, but all over the world, men are taught that it is important to solve problems on their own. Yeah.
Wow.
So,
I'm gonna.
I also want to say thanks, Coach. Sorry. Go ahead. Sorry about the lag.
Go ahead, Elizabeth. Go ahead. You first.
Yeah, I wanted to say thank you so much. I found it very valuable, and I'm happy to see so many people from the community here, which to me might be an indication that it's so needed, such an important topic, and that we can all come together to come up with solutions or discussions about it. So that's my comment. So thank you very much.
You're quite welcome. And I thank you for emceeing
Mitchell
this
says
for us.
that.
Mm.
Oh, no problem. Mitchell says that men tend to think that asking help is weakness.
Just by a show of hands, how many of you guys can relate to that? Yep. Or a show of stars or emojis. Yep. And that's what, and because we're taught, like I said, we're taught to be problem solvers. We're taught to be, in charge. So showing weakness is not manly. So we have to get past that. So all righty. I want to thank you all again. I enjoyed this
Okay.
talk. Mm-hmm.
Thanks, Coach.
You're welcome.
If there are any other comments, I'll still read them out. So, yeah, thanks everyone for coming. Before we move on to the art section of the event, I just wanted to tie this in with United Nations Virtual Worlds initiative. So, on the 24th of June, it was the first Virtual Worlds Day, and Cirrus XR had the idea to bring it into spatial and to create an event around it. So we did that because we want to really, the UN has finally recognized the power of technology and how to harness that power of the metaverse to achieve the Sustainable Development Goals. So just to recap briefly, the Sustainable Development Goals are 17 goals for a better future for the world. So what we are currently doing is we've started small scale just within the community of a campaign, but we're going to grow that as well, is that people go through the goals. And if you need more info, I know it's all might be unfamiliar or it might be overwhelming. So then you can hop into any of our spaces or DM us and we can meet up. But what we've asked is for people to identify which one of the 17 goals they are either already working on or that they plan to be working on. Then to take a photo with that goal up in your space and to post it on the thread. So we've got a thread on X that we've started up, and thank you so much for the participation already. It's great to see what different people are doing. I mean, there's people that I'm friends with and I had no idea they have like education projects going on, sending out people to another country, for example, like Kush's project. So thanks for those that have already participated. And then we're going to take it beyond spatial and we're going to make a collage and gradually show more and more people that what's capable in the metaverse. So to tie it in with this event, this falls for me under mental health and well-being, which is one of the goals. It also for me falls under quality education because this is important information. And from just observing all the chat and how we've got so many different cultures and languages, I think it's also reduced inequalities. So there's a lot of innovation. I mean, there's a lot of different things that are being targeted. But yes, so either identify something that you've already been working on and plan to continue working on, and if you can't, then maybe take up something from one of the goals that you could work on. So that's to tie in with the United Nations initiative that we're currently doing. So yeah, feel free to chat to Cirrus or to chat to me. One of us can sit down and we can identify projects that might already fall within that. So now onto the arts section. Maradori has done a really amazing job of curating the art for this garden gallery. And there are 13 artists this time from diverse backgrounds. There's new artists from Cameroon, Thailand, for example. And for me personally, I'm excited to have another African person, and I really like the art there that is very sort of representing visually the African culture. I'm sure you'll be able able to identify it. And then also the artworks from the previous exhibitions get moved then to the Meta Garden Museum where they'll stay up. So the portal to the Meta Garden Museum is here. And we're going to now have one song where we dance together just to have a bit of fun, and then you can move around as you please, check out the artwork, socialize, leave, stay, whatever floats your boat. So thank you so much. We're going to move to apparently my left, and we're going to dance over there. If you're on VR, the dance plate will work. There is a stop button because you won't stop otherwise behind the sign that says Meta Garden Gallery. It will also work if you're on mobile. So you can just step onto the plate and then step off, and I will share a song for us that ties in with today's topic. Sorry.
What's wrong with the world, mama? People living like they ain't got no mamas. I think the whole world's addicted to the drama, only attracted to things that'll bring the trauma. Overseas, yeah, we trying to stop terrorism, but we still got terrorists here living in the USA, the big CIA, the Bloods and the Crips and the KKK. But if you only have love for your own race, then you only leave space to discriminate, and to discriminate only generates hate. And when you hate, then you're bound to get irate. Yeah, madness is what you demonstrate, and that's exactly how anger works and operates. Man, you gotta have love just to set it straight. Take control of your mind and meditate. Let your soul gravitate to the love, y'all.
People killing, people dying, children hurt and you hear them crying. When you practice what you preach and what you turn the other cheek. Father, 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 help us, send some guidance from above. These people got me questioning. Where is the love? Where is the love? Where is the love? Where is the love? The love?
It just ain't the same, always in change. New days are strange, is the world insane? If love and peace is so strong, why are the pieces of love that don't belong? Nations dropping bombs, chemical gases filling lungs of little ones with ongoing suffering as the youth are young. So ask yourself, is the loving really gone? So I could ask myself, really what is going wrong in this world that we living in? People keep on giving in, making wrong decisions, only visions of them dividends. Not respecting each other, denying thy brother. A war's going on, but the reason's undercover. The truth is kept secret, it's swept under the rug. If you never know truth, then you never know love. Where's the love, y'all? Come on. I don't know. Where's the truth, y'all? Come on. I don't know. Where's the love, y'all?
People killing, people dying, children hurt and you hear them crying. When you practice what you preach and what you turn the other cheek. Father, 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 help us, send some guidance from above. These people got me questioning. Where is the love? Where is the love? Where is the love? Where is the love? The love?
I feel the weight of the world on my shoulder. As I'm getting older, your people get colder. Most of us only care about money making. Selfishness got us following the wrong direction. Wrong information always shown by the media. Negative images is the main criteria. Infecting the young minds faster than bacteria. Kids wanna act like what they see in the cinema. Yeah. Whatever happened to the values of humanity? Whatever happened to the fairness and equality? Instead of spreading love, we're spreading animosity. Lack of understanding leading us away from unity. That's the reason why sometimes I'm feeling under. That's the reason why sometimes I'm feeling down. It's no wonder why sometimes I'm feeling under. Gotta keep my faith alive till love is found. Now ask yourself, where is the love?
Sing with me, y'all.
One world, one world. We only got one world, one world. That's all we got. One world, one world. And something's wrong with it. Something's wrong with it. Something's wrong with the world. Yeah, we only got